the Coalition have lost a number in their ranks during this term who have defected. One of them is Senator Gerard Rennick, who joins me now. Thank you for your time. So you formed the Gerard Rennick People First Party. You've had, a month or so of the life of that party. How is it feeling? How up against it do you sense you are in terms of returning to the Senate?
Thanks for asking, Tom, and it's good to be here. Look, I'm actually enjoying being an independent because it gives me a chance to speak out about policy that I'm passionate about, in particular tax policy, which I released a range of tax policies last week, one of which was to actually abolish the 50% CGT discount whilst keeping negative gearing in order to fund an income tax cut for people earning between $45,000 and $65,000. And this is one of the things I like being about an independent, is that I'm not muzzled by the major party. And both major parties are sitting there squabbling over tax policy, but neither of them actually have the courage to actually come out and take a stand on how we're going to fix the structural deficiencies in the Tax Act. So I'm enjoying it, Tom.
Talk us through how that happens. So you've been outspoken before. You get up in the party room and you say, whatever it might be, you can give a real example if you want, but, the capital gains tax, I think we do need a change. We should give it to lower income earners. Do people sort of, you get a couple of claps and then you get reminded on the way out, stick to the talking lines?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, or nothing actually happened. So throughout the first half of my Senate term in the Morrison government, I had extended meetings with Josh Frydenberg, with Stephen Kennedy, with a number of my fellow backbench colleagues throughout the COVID pandemic when we were locked down in Canberra. So I organised a couple of backbench meetings then to talk about policy. But unfortunately, and I actually went to see Jim Chalmers when I first got in, and came back after Albanese government and gave him a whole heap of sections in the Tax Act that actually work against Australia's interests. I mean, these changes are actually, they're literally free votes. If you went and closed these loopholes and cut income tax, you could actually, win votes because you're cutting income tax. But needless to say, neither major party has embraced any of the policies I've put forward, which is particularly frustrating given that I've probably got more knowledge about the Tax Act than any other politician in Canberra. And that was confirmed a couple of weeks ago when I was in Canberra, when I had a person from the sector who actually said, when I made these suggestions, she actually said, you realise there's no other politician in Canberra who understands any of this? And I said, yeah, I do. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to become an independent, is so that we can talk about these issues.
So on the CGT element, the 50% discount, of course, replaced the previous policy, which effectively meant you did still get a discount on your capital gains tax. It was just based on inflation, because otherwise you're not accounting for the fact that everything goes up in price. Is that how you would do it, or would you have another system to calculate capital gains tax?
No, Tom, I would go back to the original method of indexing the cost base. That's a very simple method to use. It was the first job I was ever given when I started as a tax accountant back in 1991. The argument that it's complicated isn't true. It's much simpler than many of the other things in the Tax Act, like Div 7A.
Basically, inflation on cost base.
Yes, the cost base.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too pointy. I'm wary of our viewers. I'm not saying you don't know. I just thought I'd clarify that particular point. It's come up before. You're very wary on government subsidies, and you've singled out renewables. What about the Coalition's nuclear policy? I mean, this is going to be a lot of government money tipped in. Do you want to see this policy and see how much money is being tipped in? Would that concern you just as much if this was basically a government propped up industry?
It would concern me, but I don't think in the long run that nuclear would be a government propped up industry. And the important thing is that the people would own the nuclear asset. And would I build 7 straight up? I'd probably start with 1 and add to that, build 1 at a time. But I think we desperately need nuclear technology in this country, and that is an investment for the future. There's nothing new about battery storage or wind power. These things have been around for thousands of years. If they were effective, they would have worked by now, but they don't work on a cost-effective basis.
Well, the battery tech's moved on a little bit
subsidies
in the past several thousand years, though.
Oh, it has, but it still isn't anywhere near cost-competitive baseload energy.
Okay, so you will look closely at the sort of cost here. You'll be just as rigorous on that for the nuclear costs, because I know you've raised concerns about solar and renewable subsidies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and look, my advice, and they can take it or leave it to Peter and Ted, would be I think they should come up with costings because then you've got a benchmark to work with. Yeah.
Senator, got to leave it there. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.